everyone. This is Dr. Shelley Plum, and I'd like to welcome you all back to From the Hip. Now, today we are most certainly going to switch gears, and I want to talk to you about something, very, very serious. We're going to talk a little bit about violence. We're going to talk a little bit about abuse that is going on really around the world. And today, I will be honest with you, I went to wake up my little boy, and I am watching him sleep. And I am thinking, my goodness, after reading all the articles and preparing for this show, I am so grateful for him and that he's safe and that he has a roof over his head and he is being fed. Because quite honestly, not all of us around the world have that. You know what, let me throw out some statistics for you. Just some gross statistics that I stumbled across. Let's start with 500. 500 million to 1.5 billion. Children, not adults, but children are undergoing some sort of physical abuse worldwide right now. It's incredible. How about 5? 1 in 5 women in the world today undergo some sort of sexual abuse before they become an adult. It's incredible. It gives me chills to even think about it. Another number, 10. Every 10 minutes, a woman is killed by a violent act before she becomes an adult. Those are just grounding statistics that I think we all need to be aware of. In today's day and age, where there is abuse and there is violence, it is so refreshing to know that there are companies and there are organizations out there that are doing something about it. And today, PlumbTalk on From the Hip, we have the founder, the president, and the vice president of Project Change with us. And they are a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to providing a hope for children and women worldwide. It is incredible. They are building orphanages, they are building schools, they are building rehabilitation centers. So when we come back, we are going to meet Cheryl-Dene Spring, the founder of Project Change, and Ann Reinstein, who is vice president. And we will be back in a moment. Welcome to PlumbTalk Productions, a full-service production company based in West Palm Beach, Florida. Business owners know that every second of the day is a unique opportunity to reach out to an audience and make an impact. Which marketing options do we dive into and spend our hard-earned dollars? Here at PlumbTalk Productions, we have done our research and we can sum it up all in one word: video. How powerful is video? Well, let's look at some percentages. How about 64%? After watching a video, 64% of users are more likely to buy a product or service online. 100%. YouTube reports that mobile video consumption rises 100% every year. How about 200%? It has been documented that video and email leads to 200 to 300% increase in click-through rates. Oh yes, audiences are most certainly expecting more and expecting it faster. In a day and age when people are overwhelmed with facts and time is limited, they want information in real time. They want it immediately. Video is the perfect medium for that. PlumbTalk Productions is a full-service production company dedicated to helping you find your voice in an efficient, competent, and creative manner through video. What do? The sky is the limit, really. We are pleased to offer many services, from on-location shoots to promotional video and customized Facebook Live video. If you can dream it, we can stream it. That's what we say, and that is the truth. Are customers paying attention? People ask us that all the time. Oh yes, the customers are certainly paying attention to video. That is why we must, as business owners, make every second count and increase revenue through the power of video. At PlumbTalk Productions, we can do this fast and affordably with the quality our consumers expect. So, reach out. Reach out now. We're easy to reach through our website at plumtalkproductions.com. Call us at 561-855-0764. Don't wait. Now is the time for video. We are dedicated to helping you make every moment count. Well, hey everyone, we are back. This is Dr. Shelley Plum, and I'm here right now with the founder and the vice president of Project Change. So I'd like to welcome you ladies. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Now, Cheryl-Dene,
Yes.
I have to know, you are the founder of Project Change.
Yes.
What prompted you to start this amazing organization?
Well, it really is a two-part conversation. It obviously goes back to me growing up. I'm from South Africa, and I spent several years myself living in an orphanage, and and I won the lottery, if that's what you can say, coming to the United States and living here and living a really, really good life. And as I progressed in my own professional career, I just came to a place where I felt that, now what?
Right.
Now what am I going to do? And I felt somewhat lost, to be honest, because I didn't feel the success that I had anticipated I would feel. And I am always drawn back to my roots and where I came from. And it kind of led way to me deciding, all right, what am I going to do?
Right.
And I had first thought, all right, I'm going to, I know that I want to focus on Africa because that's where I'm from. I know it. And I thought, all right, let's send everyone shoes, let's send clothes.
Right.
And it kind of just progressed to where I decided, you know what, let's just build.
Yes.
Let's just really actually attack the issue, because if I send shoes now, I'm going to have to send it again. And that's where it came from. It's just trying to be part of the solution versus just putting a Band-Aid on it and hoping that, all right, next week things are going to be better, because
Right.
it's, a natural feeling that these things aren't fun to talk about, and they're difficult to see, and they're difficult to see on your news feed, when
Right.
you see those stories on your news feed. But it's happening, and the truth is we need more people that will rise to the occasion and help, try solve the issues that we
Right.
that we have.
I love your story.
Yeah.
The reason is it really is the true definition of paying it forward. We've all heard that term,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And coming from, you experienced
Yeah.
some hardship there, and you were able to turn that around and not put a Band-Aid on it. Like you said, you're actually making a difference. That difference will continue giving. Am I right, Anne?
That is absolutely correct.
Right.
And the idea behind our projects is not to continue to provide and give, for every need they have. The idea is to give them the tools they need to become self-sustainable, to be able to survive on their own, and we can move on to other projects and help other areas and other countries and expand, our operation.
That's incredible. So let's take our viewers on a journey, so to speak. And what I mean by that is, when you were first starting the organization, can you describe for viewers out there what you saw? I mean, what type of conditions are we talking about? You relayed them to me, and quite frankly, they were alarming. So let's start with you.
Well, I don't think anything can really prepare you for what it is that you see on, if you can say ground zero. To give you an idea, last year, May, we went to our projects to go check up on it, and we flew from Dubai, and it's a very wealthy, very rich place, and we flew into Kampala, and when we were driving, you see children living on the streets. And I've seen children living on the street, but for some reason that's really it was at a level that I did not even think could actually happen. You can see children that have diseases on their hands, their arms, their feet. Little girls that are carrying babies because they're taking care of the babies. You have children just surrounding your car and begging for food, and just any food. And I mean, those are some of the conditions. And then you have, as you go into remote areas, you have like the silent suffering. You have, situations where there are women that are just working, and you see children walking to go, collect water. And
Yes.
so, that's like the initial what you see.
Right.
Yeah.
That's incredible. It's the living conditions, and I think we were talking earlier in the introduction about you know, we live in an environment where we almost take for granted the way we live.
And we become desensitized to it as well.
True,
because even
true.
for us, you know, while we probably understand poverty more than most, having come from third world countries, it's still a shocker when you arrive and you see it.
Yes.
And you see it again. And it makes you humble, and it puts everything into perspective. You know, how good we have it and how little it really takes to change somebody's life.
Right.
So it's very humbling to see it firsthand.
I can
For
imagine.
us, yeah.
Can you, I mean, I can only imagine, you know, both of you are describing what it's like when you arrived and you're in the car and you see children, and we all either have children, know somebody who has children, you know, have grandchildren, for example. What were the emotions? What was going through your head at the time?
Ooh. Well, I'll tell you, last year when I went back, my son was 3 years old.
Okay.
And to give you an idea, when we arrived at the orphanage, I've been sending clothes to them. You know, whatever clothes he doesn't wear, I send it all, pack it up, and send it to them. And when we arrived, I saw children that were 6 and 7 wearing his clothes. You see,
goodness.
that's how tiny the children are, and that's how malnourished they are. So when you all of a sudden, I saw my son, in essence, running around all over me, his shirt, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe you need to be on a diet. No, but it puts into perspective.
Oh, it sure
just
does, yes.
How dire and how bad the situation is,
Right.
you know. And then you see the children having lunch, and they're having lunch which is soup. It's, you know, a maize, that's a soupy maize. And right now, my son, I mean, he eats the whole time. He never stops eating.
Right.
And then, you know, I'll be sitting thinking to myself, what are the children eating? And how do they, you know, when they're hungry, there isn't a kitchen for them to go to. You know, they can't just go open the fridge and
Right.
say, you know, I'm hungry, I want cookies or milk or whatever it may be. Everything is rationed.
Yes.
So I think that to me is something that has become a big, you know, motivating force in what we are doing.
Right.
Is just understanding that this is actually a child that's 3 years old or 4 years old or 8
Right.
that have the body mass of a very tiny little 4-year-old.
And that's incredible to think of it that way. And it's not just nutrition and a roof over your house. There is, from what I have read, a tremendous amount of abuse that goes on,
Yeah.
and violence and rape of small children. Am I right?
Yes, some of the children that we have this is south of the capital, where we have most of our children, and we're very happy because we know they're safe.
Yes.
They get a meal and they get an education.
Okay.
But shortly after we actually came back from Uganda, we received a phone call from someone that Cheryl-Dene knows that works in the northern part of Uganda. This is a lady that used to work with a non-for-profit from Australia, right?
Yeah.
And she had asked for our help to rescue 3 girls that were fleeing. They were about to get married off, and I
Okay.
think one of them had escaped, you know, from the war from South Sudan. It's right on the border of Uganda and South Sudan. So she had asked for us to help and provide a rescue for them. Working with our principal in our school and our orphanage, we sent them off. It's a 2-day trip to the northern part of Uganda. And instead of going for 3 girls, we came back with 8 children.
Oh my goodness.
And we had to leave.
You almost tripled the amount of
Yes,
children,
yeah,
right?
we tripled
Yes.
the children, and the promise does that we will come back to rescue more. And we did later on. We had a second rescue and came back with, oh my God, I don't know. Every time we go back, we always come back with more children than we're supposed to have.
Right, right.
But half the children that live in this village are the girls, you know, get raped, get married off, or they're escaping war. The likes of Joseph Kony in South Sudan. And the boys have to work for food, and work is basically children's slavery. You know, they have to move rocks, they have to dig holes, and work for food. So even the boys were crying for us to take them
Yes.
with them.
Oh.
And you know, most people believe, and it's unfortunately a very uneducated and uninformed approach, that when you look at third world countries, whether it's Africa or any other place, that, you know, the first thing that they say is just stop having children. But the truth is, when you are there and you realize that these are children having children, and there is no such thing as going to the doctor and getting birth control, and women don't have the right over their bodies that you would have in a place like where we
Well,
live today.
and you just shared with me, correct me if I'm wrong, that one of the young ones,
12-year-old girl.
12-year-old girl just had a child. Am
Yeah.
I correct in
Correct,
saying that?
yeah.
Yes.
And it really put, when we heard that she was pregnant, getting ready to have a baby, you think, all right, we need to get her to a medical center, but there's none.
Right.
And, you go out to buy baby clothes and you shopping in the same section as for little girls that are 12. And you think to yourself, how is it that I'm buying baby clothes for a baby, so it's a real problem, and a lot of the girls that we are helping is, specifically coming from those type of circumstances where they are getting married off, sold, they are treated like, cattle in essence. They're valuable in exchanging.
Right.
Or
So-
just getting raped, and statistically, a lot of these girls do not survive the birth of the child. So we have had girls that we've known of that, were very, very young. They have these babies in their villages with the help of the older women, and they don't survive. Sometimes they bleed to death. So that's also very common. The place that we have in northern Uganda, which is a trade school for these girls, is so they can learn a trade and survive on their own. So we have a school that gives them training for 6 months, so they're able to come out of the school with something to do so they can survive.
That's incredible.
yeah.
So that brings us kind of to the next leg of our journey. So you mentioned rescue. Okay, so by rescue, what does Project Change do for those children?
We basically, in the orphanage, which is our birth project, that's where it all started.
Yes.
We gave them a place to live, an orphanage, and a school,
Okay.
a home. We gave them a home, a safe place essentially. A lot of these kids were roaming around on their own, unsafe, unsupervised, malnourished, with no education, not a chance, no hope, nothing. So we started with 30-something kids. Now we have about 200 that get an education in the school. But about 50 plus of them are children that live in the home. So in the nighttime is a home, in the daytime is a school for children from our orphanage plus children of the village.
I see.
The idea is that we give them the tools they need so they can sustain the school on their own. So we have built a chicken farm, a pig farm. We're about to build a vegetable farm, and we have a community project where hopefully all these will help sustain it. We're
Right.
dabbing on different things, and we're also planning on putting a trade school within the school so the women can sell things they make.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and we seem to have had very much success with that type of trade in northern Uganda in our trade school. So it's going so well that we think we want to mirror that project onto our home and orphanage,
Okay.
our school. So
Right.
we have that going on in southern Uganda. We have the project in northern Uganda, which is a trade school for the women that flee the war, rape, marriages. And the project that's just about to break ground, it's near central southern Uganda. We're actually working with the government to build a refugee center for children only.
That's
only,
incredible.
Only
Okay, so
refugee
let's talk
children.
about that, because that is very unique. And so what do you mean by that?
So we have, the problem in Africa is that there are many wars going on.
Yes.
And children lose their parents. So they basically just roam into another country. And what has happened in this specific area is the children have made it across the border from the Congo, and they are in this area in Rwanda where there's just no jurisdiction. None of the countries want to take responsibility for them, and it's just children. You literally just see children taking care of children. And what we have decided to do is to work with the Uganda government, build structures, build an orphanage, a medical facility, and bring these children into our facility and giving them refugee status, which is incredibly important because it gives them a birth certificate, it gives them the way that one day they can travel.
Right.
It also gives them a sense of a home,
Yes.
that now there's a home.
They belong, don't they?
They belong.
Yes.
And on that, we believe that it's important that we help the kids start looking at life differently. And the way we do it is, for purpose of our conversation, we talk about orphanages, but with our children, we do not talk about an orphanage because they are no longer orphans. They have someone who cares about them, who loves them, and interested in their well-being, so we call it homes. And we want them to feel like it is their home, because that is their home.
Right.
So that's what we're doing for those children. We're bringing them over and really just helping them get through, like readjustment. Many of them have a lot of psychological issues, obviously, and we don't have all of their expertise in place, but the one thing that we know never fails is love and believing in them and security and feeling safe, just those basic principles. And
you know what, I mean, our hats are off to you, because one of our slogans in our company is "You matter." We go through life sometimes where we question, do we really matter? And I can only imagine that on those children and the women and even the boys that are there, that has to cross their mind. And having them, first of all, not calling it an orphanage and calling it a home, they do matter.
Yeah.
You're giving them really an identity.
Yeah. It's I've always believed that there is nothing worse than for a person to feel alone. Nothing worse. And if they know that they have one person that is there for them, the sky is the limit. And that's really what all of this is about. The truth is, I'm not where I am today because I was just that fantastic, and neither is Anne. And when you start looking back on your life, you realize that there were people along the way that helped you get where you needed to go, and someone believed in you, and someone gave you that shot,
Yes.
And the truth is, that's really what we are doing. We are saying, look, you are going through very difficult times, but you're not going to do it alone. And we may not have a golden ticket for you, but we have an opportunity for you. And that's all that the kids need. They literally thrive on it. Just that feeling of someone actually took the time, someone cares, and they don't really, that's it.
Yeah, I would love for you to share with our viewers, and you shared with me earlier, just a few instances of little individuals that you had given that shot to. Can you describe some of the things, some of the positive messages and case studies that have come forth with Project Change? I know there was one that you shared with me that was so powerful for my heart, and it was the little youngster that didn't even speak English, that all of a sudden started talking to you in English.
Right.
And what did he say?
Well, when we had the rescue in northern Uganda, we went to rescue 3 girls and came back with 8.
Yes.
And then we came back with more. The official language in Uganda is English. First to Luganda, which is another primary language in the country. But there's so many villages and so many children that don't ever get an education, that unless you go to school, you don't learn English, and you might not even learn Luganda. So you have village dialects. So, we came across an issue with bringing the kids from this remote village in northern Uganda and bringing them into our home, that they had no way to communicate because they didn't speak the same language.
Right.
So luckily, one of the elderly people from the village, from the rescue village, came along so she can be used as a translator for the teachers and the children that were coming in to live with us. We were preparing around that time, we were preparing to do our first anniversary gala party. So we asked the principal of the school to produce a small video of the children talking, showing where they live and what they have. And one of the children that was rescued, one of the little boys, had a whole speech in English, saying, I'm the child from Sorority who was rescued, and I want to thank Project Change for bringing me here. And these kids were so battered when we pulled them from where they were. And he's telling his story and he's smiling, and that's just all you need.
Right.
That's all you need to see just to continue forward.
Yes.
And what gives me the biggest pride personally is knowing that our home is safe, because we've been there. We know what they get, we know how they live, we know where they sleep, and we know how they get educated. So for me, just to know that these kids went from being slaves to living in our home, That's all I need to know, you know?
Right, right.
And my biggest pride is giving them a safe place.
And that's so incredibly important. And I know that we had spoke too about how your generosity and the donor's generosity is received by the people who are residing in the homes, and they take that training and that knowledge and they are using it, aren't they, to better themselves. It's not like they're taking it and then take. It's more of, I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it to boost myself up. That's what I need, is I need that little boost, and that's what you're providing.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a community approach, and it's almost something that we're not used to living here, is that people work together in a community, because the thought is, what am I going to get for it? And there, it is such a selfless giving that, when we were there, one specific occasion is, while the school was being built, there's a road that leads to where the children would go to collect water. This was before we built the well, so the children would take buckets and, just walk for miles to go get water. And there is this little old lady that is, how old is she? Like
She's
90?
in her 90s.
I mean,
Wow.
she could barely, no money, I mean, just so poor, no shoes. And she was out there on this dirt road, just cleaning the weeds, because she knows the children walk through there. And she doesn't want them to have thorns in their feet, and the rocks hurt their feet. So she was just moving rocks out of the way. And that is the community approach that you experience. People are coming and they are giving the school food, the little bit that they have, because they're just so grateful for what is going on, and that we are, we're taking interest in helping their children get an education, because that is the one thing that is incredibly valued, and and they just don't have it. So they would come and ask, just teach my children, teach them how to read, how to write, and so that's the
such a needed service, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and take this opportunity to take a break. So for all you viewers out there, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. We're asked a lot of times, what are the goals of PlumbTalk? And honestly, that's a question that's a little difficult in a way to answer, because we have so many goals. But, learning from past mistakes, I have taken these goals and we've kind of condensed them into really two different realms of goals. Number one is we aim to educate the community, and that is a very important thing for us. We are a resource, and how I like to explain that is, in our lives, a lot of us go through some trying times, and we like to, here at PlumbTalk, describe our life as a puzzle. And, any puzzle has pieces, and all of our pieces to the puzzle in our life are different. And there are times in our life, and I'm sure you can relate to this, when those pieces of the puzzle either become loose or, they're missing altogether, and we need that information. We need something to put that piece back together again. And that's what PlumbTalk aims to do. We aim to be the resources that you can really take that information and put your piece of the puzzle back together again. And we do that through many different avenues. One, and you probably have seen this, is we interview specialists in different areas. And again, that's what we're trying to do, is to bring information in to put the pieces of the puzzle back together again. So we aim to be a resource. That's one of our major goals. The second thing is our production arm that we have. And our production arm is a little different than, what typical production companies do. Our major aim with our production is to give businesses out there a voice that helps them to get their message across in a way that nobody else can. And we do that in several different ways. We are a full service production company, and we do everything from creating a program, to writing the script, to coaching on how to speak properly in front of a camera, and editing. We have state-of-the-art editing techniques. So PlumbTalk has many different goals, but they really focus on those two major arms. We aim to be a resource, and we aim to help businesses out there get their voice known and heard like it's never been heard before. Well, hey everyone, we are back. So I'm curious, we have talked a little bit about this, is when you get back from your trips, you were just sharing with me how you feel. How do you feel coming back? Do you want to go back and help more? Do you feel bad about leaving, or do you feel grateful, or both, for being back?
I think you go through a roller coaster of emotions.
Right.
Number one, you come back very fired up in that you've got to tell the story. And that's a big part of what we do. Is we are a platform for the stories of what the children are going through. So you want the story out. You want to tell people. You want them to see what it is that you see.
Right.
But I think then you go through some times where the severity of the situation dawns on you, and it humbles you, and it really hits you in a place where I know Anna's the same, where you find you're driving and you start crying. And for me, I wake up in the middle of the night, the terrible 2 a.m.
Yes.
and you start thinking about the things that need to get done. So I think it is a roller coaster of emotions,
Right.
and depending on where you are in the project, you kind of take the donors and the sponsors with you, because a lot of what we do is we share with folks. Hey, we are building a school. We're getting the pigs. We had last year a very close call to death for some of our children who had malaria.
Oh my.
And these are mosquitoes, a small tiny mosquito, and the next thing, our children were sick.
Yes.
And we woke up one morning, 7 o'clock, I get all these emergency messages and pictures of the children being in the hospital.
Oh.
And, it's those type of moments that all of a sudden you are overwhelmed and you realize that what a mosquito can do.
Yes. A small mosquito,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, when we were there, we spent 2 days in the emergency room with one child who, at first, everyone thought he was just tired, and it came out that he had acute malaria and he was going to die. So I think it's those type of things that put into perspective where you are, and your
Right.
emotions
Yeah.
change.
And don't get me wrong, even through the process, there are times that we just want to pull our hair, because there are a lot of
gosh,
challenges.
sure, I
We have
can
a lot of
imagine.
challenges, and our board meetings, our conversations, and not everything is tears and happiness. Sometimes we have some challenging moments between us and with the things that we're working with and the people that we're working with. So it's hard. It's definitely close to a full-time job emotionally and time-wise.
I can imagine so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have this vision in my head right now, and I don't know how I would deal with it. Is, like you were saying, you're driving in the car and they want, food and shelter and moral support, and you're providing that, which our hats are off to you, that's for sure. So for viewers out there who are intrigued by our conversation and they want to get involved, are there ways that they can get involved? Can you share with us?
Obviously donations is what we try to get from people that support us, because we know how far a dollar goes for the construction of classrooms, and to be able to launch projects that take time and money to put forth, like the chicken farm.
Yes.
It's very, very easy to find the chickens. 500 chickens is $500. So we can definitely find donors to donate chickens, but then guess what? You gotta feed these chickens, and they grow and they grow and they grow. And every month is a significant amount of money getting them, fed so they can eventually lay eggs.
Yes.
So, in order for us to give them that type of project to become self-sustainable, we need financial help. We put every dollar that is donated onto a project. We're very, very lucky in the sense that, our trips to Uganda, the things that we do, anything that's administrative in nature, basically comes from our own pockets. We don't really take from the foundation to be able to work,
Right.
do the work that we need to do. So, and we oversee everything. We have, a lot of checks and balances and processes that we put in place with the people on the ground to give us accountability for what has been spent and what has been done.
Right.
And having been to Uganda in May, we know how much things cost.
Mm-hmm.
We know how much materials cost. We know how much rice costs. We know how much maize costs. So
Beds, we've helped negotiate beds, mattresses,
Yes.
That's incredible.
So
all of that.
those
Yes.
numbers are stuck in my head.
Right.
So when I know that a project needs to be launched to get more beds or to get our structure built, I know exactly how much it's going to cost.
Right.
So there's no fooling us because we've been there.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so we ask a lot of accountability from our people on the ground to be able to get us what we need. It's not just about giving them the money. It's, okay, we need accountability for what we spent.
Right.
And what are we doing so you can provide as well towards the project now that you have become somewhat self-sustainable, like with the chicken farm.
Right.
We're laying eggs right now. So some eggs are used to feed the children and some are used to sell to the people in the village.
Right, right.
And that provides an income, stream for the school as well.
And you know what I like too that you do on your social media pages, your website is you show donors what is being done with the money.
Absolutely,
Am I right?
yes.
So can you describe that?
Not everyone has the ability to donate financially, and we are big believers that for every person there is something that they can do to give. And depending on where you are in your life, so you go through phases in your life, you may have to give, and at other times you don't have it at all. But we document everything on Facebook. We believe that if you see what it is that you do, that you are going to advocate for us. And that's also a big part of, we want you to share with people what we do, because you may not be able to help, but the 10 people that you are connecting us to, they may be able to help, and they may have been looking to
Right.
help. A lot of the stories we hear from folks is that I was going through such a difficult time in my life and I didn't know what to do, and then I started helping out and I started watching what you guys are doing, and I feel better and I feel inspired again. So the truth is, we are providing some form of medication for everyone.
Yes.
And
everyone wins in that situation. Isn't that the truth?
And it gives in very strange ways. I think a lot of folks have been put off by nonprofits and what happens, and the truth is, it does happen.
Yes.
So we believe the proof is in the pudding. You
Yes.
see us, you see what we do. We need for example, a playground, and we say, hey folks, we need a playground. And you're going to see us build that playground, paint it, build it, and you're going to see the kids on it. So a lot of those things are happening. We have building a desk for our school, so you can have, you can sponsor a desk, and it costs you $25, and your name goes on it. So there you go. Your
Very-
Christmas gift is to keep on giving and, give a school desk.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all the viewers out there who have seen our conversation today and are really looking to get involved, where would you point them?
Our website, www.projectchange.org, is the first place to go because we have different opportunities throughout the year, events that are coming up, or the other place is Facebook, which is Project Change Our World, and there there's lots of information, lots of good stuff. You can reach out to us if you are close to the Tri-County area. There's always more hands on deck is always what we need, but it's different for
Right now,
every
for the
person.
rest of the year, we have the upcoming trip going to Uganda in May.
Right.
We are just about to get started preparing for our gala, which is going to be either in November and December. And we have a fundraising Kilimanjaro climb that is coming up in November as well.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lots
Lots
of
of stuff.
opportunity
Yeah.
for people to get
Yes.
involved.
Yes.
So, Well, I'll tell you what, on behalf of the entire PlumbTalk team, we are just so fortunate to have you guys on the show, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. And for viewers out there, this has been another edition of From the Hip, and we will definitely see you next time.